So I'm going to call the meeting to order.
6:31.
Thank you, Michael. I'd like to add to the agenda, which I'm sorry I just forgot. I think under committee reports, the fields discussion, because Michael and I traveled to the select board. And it was so long ago in the scheme of things I forgot. Does anybody else have any additions to the agenda? Which is packed, jam-packed.
Where are we going to add that? New business? Or
under committee reports.
Committee reports.
Because
Okay.
it's not new business, we've been doing it.
Sure.
Maybe it's unfinished business, but we sort of formed a committee
Yep.
to do it,
Yep.
I think.
Sure, I'd like to add, I don't know, I know that the WSESU has presented the Articles of Agreement and they've been voted upon, but people have asked me, what does the Dummerston board think of the Articles of Agreement? And I don't know that we ever had a final say. Not that it's binding on anything, so I don't think we're adding it right now, if you are willing.
We did have a vote long ago, but they didn't change much. It's a different board, so that would probably be worth doing. It's not a binding vote, so I don't think that's an issue. Do you want to put that under Act 46 Study Committee?
Yeah.
Portion of the business? Okay.
Sure.
Anything else? Excellent. Moving right along. The minutes of the 12th, the 26th, and the 28th. Entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes of September 12th, September 26th, and September 28th.
Is there a second? We can discuss if you have an issue.
One second.
Thank you, Sue. I have just two typos. On page 2, on page 2, it says Kyle, and I think it's supposed to be Lyle.
Which one?
Sorry, the minutes of the 12th, page 2, towards the bottom, there's a little
Yep.
Kyle hanging out there. And similarly, on page 4, on the same day, right after it says BCTV, it says Kyle again.
And I have,
And on page 2 of this September 28th, on the big paragraph, it says Bard. It should be Barb.
and on page 1,
Oh,
Wait, let me find that one.
Page
Oh.
2, page 2.
I had some.
Thank you.
It says, so you have it.
Oh, interesting. Huh,
That's bizarre.
you have different fonts.
Barb, there we
We have
go.
different fonts and different words. I
Okay,
had
how
some.
is that?
You got a ghost?
I printed
Hold on.
mine out, the interweb.
I took mine from this pile.
Fascinating.
mine says Sue.
No. But yours in
Mine says Sue.
some.
Mine says Sue.
Oh. I think I got mine off either the website or from Barb sent them.
I got mine
remember
from
which
Bard.
I don't remember where I got it.
Interesting. Okay. I guess if Sue needs to be corrected.
I will correct Sue if it needs to be corrected.
Okay.
Spell
you.
check it.
Oh yeah, Bard, I see it now. Maybe she's the Bard of the SU.
Was it just that one place where it was barred?
That's the only place I saw it.
Okay. Great.
Any further discussion on any of the minutes? All those in favor of approving the minutes of the 12th, the 26th, and the 28th signify by saying aye.
I'm sorry, one more. On the 26th, it appears that I missed the time that the meeting adjourned. I think I have that on the 26th,
Oh,
where we
yeah.
at the VSBA. I thought I had put that in there, so I
Yeah.
will.
I thought, I read that.
I did too, so.
I
that's
thought it was
fine.
in there,
Thought it
yeah.
was in there as well. So,
So you will add the time to
it goes
that?
to the machine, I will add the
Nice.
time, yes.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the 12th, 26th, and 28th of September 2017 as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I, for the 12th, I'll abstain from the 26th and 28th.
You can actually, I've been told you don't have to, but
Oh,
we still got a
great.
quorum.
Okay.
So, we still have a quorum, so thank you very much. No nays or abstention, oh, what, those two, that abstention?
Yeah, but
Do you have that, Tori? Excellent. Communications. Nice, moving right along. Moving on to recognize visitors. And Jody, you were here for a particular agenda item or just,
Oh, I'm just curious about your, the Act 46 and about the VSBA and about the PreK and about the field. I mean, all kinds of things here, nothing particular.
Okay.
I didn't communicate anything to you.
we will be talking about all those
All those
things.
things.
Excellent. We have a pretty full agenda, although now I'm going to table some things unless Amy arrives. So if we can just limit the feedback today a little bit. Raising hands, all this
She's
stuff.
telling
Thank
me to
you.
be quiet.
No. Okay, warrants. Has everybody had a chance to look at the warrants of 1010, review the warrants of 1010? Okay. So let me first do, move to approve the warrants of dated 9/26/17 in the amount of $50,523.37. I'll move that one. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
All those in favor?
I,
Nays or abstentions? Thank you. Just want to make sure Michael's got that.
Aye, 4-0, right?
So, motion to approve the minutes of 10/10/2017 in the amount of $59,641.67. Is there a second?
second.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? Ayes have it. Whew. Cruising right along. Signed, sealed, and delivered. Okay, pre-K discussion.
Is that on me?
I'm looking at you, Michael.
So I had been tasked with putting something out in front of the open house days, and I neglected to do so. But I've had some conversations with some people around town. There weren't really communications, so they didn't really fall in that area. But about the pre-K stuff and some anecdotal conversations with various members of the public about the idea of having pre-K here at Dummerston School, and there does seem to be some interest. Learning that a number of people with young children have recently moved to town. And I think that's probably important because those younger families might not be sending their kids to pre-K or have recently moved within the past, 6 months or a year, so they might not have been captured by the data that we've been looking at earlier. So I just want to add that to the discussion. And really the item that I've been tasked with was to really see what interest there was by community members. And I think there'll be other opportunities to do that moving forward as well. We don't need to totally give up on that. Maybe we could throw something in the school newsletter, a line or two, to encourage people to reach out to the board if they are aware of new families, if families are curious about pre-K, because that certainly goes out to a broad audience, at least a school audience of all the students right now and parents in multiple forms. I mean, I see it on not only Facebook but email and the paper copy. I'm covered on that one. I'm covered on that one. So that's my portion of the pre-K discussion as it relates to the open house. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm wondering if, because I think we spoke with Janice Stockman, the next step was to conduct a forum, and I think we sort of have anecdotally found that there is interest and it's worth looking at some more, in my opinion, and in order to inform ourselves better, maybe we should look to do a forum in maybe, I don't know, November-ish? And invite families and get the word out. And I did talk to somebody, when I was doing a jam delivery, who said that she actually, just moved to Dummerston, and she really looked to move to Putney and Guilford to get the childcare. And so, as we look to make Dummerston an attractive place for families, for the good of our community and our school, it's important that we make sure those voices are heard, I think. So I think it would be a good thing, and we have to, if we're going to make any attempt at doing this for September 2018, we've got to start thinking about it and budgeting for it and really, put our sneakers on and start sprinting to put some numbers to that and put that in the budget. So let me just ask, is there any board thought about that? I've seen nodding heads. Does that seem like a good way to go forward? I would love some input from Jody Norman.
Well, I'm just thinking, Joe Carroll just showed me what she sent to the Views, and I would think that maybe just putting a little ad, and maybe we could sneak it in.
Oh.
But you can't wait too long. I'd be willing to contact Roger and see if you could sneak something in, or you can contact Roger. And I don't want to make Joe Carroll rewrite her thing.
Well, and you couldn't. It's just gonna be every.
I
tons of energy to get
actually
that one.
have a discussion in the Views article, a little paragraph talking about it,
Oh, you
and
do?
saying there will
Okay.
be hopefully, if we have discovered there's interest, there'll be a forum in,
Oh, good.
is that kind of what I said? Does that ring a bell? I don't even know what I said.
Rings a bell. Minutes
That
as well.
we'll be holding forums to gauge community interest. So it's in there, but somebody has to actually read it, where a box ad is such a good thing,
Well, I'm just thinking, I ran into another family, and I think they were surprised that you were talking about it, and they have 2 little kids. And it would be great, as I just said earlier before the meeting, to start getting a list of people who have moved in and do have kids.
Just FYI, there are 18 3- and 4-year-olds currently participating in the publicly funded pre-K program in
Can I ask that
a whole
question?
variety of providers. Garland School, Horizon, Hilltop Montessori, Saxons River Montessori, Neighborhood Schoolhouse, Timpson Hill, Westby Nursery, and Winston Proud.
Right.
Yeah, those are,
Currently, that number varies over time.
right, it
But
was 14 last year, I
that's
think, yeah.
currently in the first round.
Yeah.
And that's only the publicly ones.
And
Yes.
then that's
Right.
only the
Right.
ones
Private,
that
so-
use
Yeah.
preschool. I didn't send my kids to preschool.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Thanks, Paul.
excellent. So we are going to talk about a work plan later, so maybe I will table the discussion of when we schedule a forum till we're looking at the month as a whole. Would that make good sense? And I'll put that table that till we're talking about a work plan.
Later tonight, or?
Yeah, I have the board, like this
Okay.
work thing that I sent out a
Yep.
long time ago, and I put some stuff in for budgeting it for everyone, and thought we could just maybe try to, because if Frank is doing his budget presentation, maybe we don't want to do a pre-K discussion the same, pre-K forum the same night, so just, because that's a hard stop, the Frank budget things, so.
So Frank has passed out his, I don't know if you got it, his
Yes.
timeline, okay. And when you're saying forum, are you thinking about advertising it as at a regular school board meeting would be designated to talk about it, or a separate date and time?
That's, I guess, what we need to figure out based on
Okay.
our schedule. That's why I kind of wanted to have the schedule in front of everybody and.
Of the budgets?
Of the budget stuff and other things that we're working on, so that if looks like we have an opening in one of our meetings, that would be my druthers, but that would be, here's the schedule if you want to see it.
It got handed out at the SU.
Right.
Okay, so any other thoughts or considerations about that before we move on? Awesome, thank you. Administrative.
I have nothing, just,
What do I have? You have a preview of the article that's going into the views in your folders. And want to let you know that this week we'll be unveiling a new website, and newly designed, more user-friendly. It will include things like you already have, but has a separate email, but the parent online scheduling for parent conferences. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but that will be included. All sorts of new upgraded things. So look for that. And also wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I'm not sure how much information you have about the integrated field review that's happening on November 1st. When's yours?
It's like October 21st.
Oh, right, soon.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to tell you that it's a component of the state's education quality review process. It's a form of technical assistance designed to provide qualitative data to Vermont districts and to the state. Throughout the fall, visiting teams comprised of teachers, principals, and central office staff from a variety of schools will visit each district to conduct observations and interviews, as well as examine artifacts. As a result of their visit, the team will generate 2 commendations and 2 recommendations in the following education quality standards domain: academic achievement, personalized learning, safe school climate, high quality staffing, and investment priorities. So Dummerston has 2 teachers, Molly Stoner and Ellen Rago, who are participating in the WSESU group that will go out to other districts and do their field study and make accommodations and recommendations. We will be getting other people who have also studied 2 days in Killington about this process coming here on November 1st. So between now and November 1st, I will be sending invitations to parents. They want to, sort of focus group interviews with parents, with teachers, with board members. All of that will be arranged through the office. And we're sort of drafting out a schedule now. We need to finalize the schedule by October 20th. So you'll know by then whether or not you're one of the lucky chosen people to come in and to talk.
Bingo.
And I also found out today, which I didn't know, is that the recommendations and the accommodations will be coming district-wide. It won't be for Dummerston School specifically. So, and we've already sort of generated a lot of the artifacts and are there for the team to come and review.
That's unfortunate, I guess. It would be nice. It's hard to,
I know.
Yeah.
if you imagine the
quantity.
logistics
Yeah.
of getting
Yeah.
every team to every school to
Yeah.
do that, it's just
Yeah.
really not possible.
I know. I was, when I understood that they were going to go to every school, I was like, wow, that's a lot, but that's
Yeah.
cool. To get that really direct feedback and have outside eyes looking was a really great opportunity. So.
I think the interesting thing is actually the benefit that teachers here participating get by
Yes.
looking at the documentation from other districts, looking at what other districts do, and then also looking at sort of what gets put together for the whole SU.
Mm-hmm.
There was I was training last Monday, Tuesday in Killington, and the group that was together was fabulous. Across the district, Molly and Ellen were active participants in that. It was really interesting to see, not a group you would necessarily get together, but a group that really came together, started doing a lot of planning on the home visits and also the host visits, and then also on their visits to other districts.
If you're able to, what type of artifacts are they looking to receive? I mean,
Well, things that I sent were just sort of our learning walks, observation forms, one of our artifacts. I also sent some of the Dummerston alumni interviews that the 8th grade did as that sort of community tie into school. And then most of the artifacts, I think, they were able to get off the website, our continuous improvement plan, those sorts of things, and most of the other things were generated just as through the WSESU in general. Our assessment plan, our toolkit, I mean, yeah. So, that is that. Also, just to let you know that I've been getting bids on the cafeteria tables, looking at replacing those. It's time. Some schools have replaced them twice since we replaced ours once. But it looks like it may be a process over time. And also getting bids for upgrading this acoustics in the gym. A sound system that will be compatible with the different functions that are held in the gym, like town meeting, like concerts, like community forums, and hopefully the end result will be no squeaks when they start to sing and no broken mics when they start to roam and give the mic to a speaker. So it proves a challenge to anybody coming to figure it out, but I'm optimistic other places do it.
Any chance the select board would be willing to kick in some money for the sound system? Because I think it's
I never
really
thought
tough.
about that.
I know the select board is not generally a font of funding, but I do think I think town meeting is a big issue for people to be able to hear
It is,
in that room.
It is. So possibly I never thought about that. That's it.
So I want to follow up on paving
Yep.
and the Alliance Mechanical, because if that money doesn't get used, I don't know what happens to it. I didn't get that far.
Well, Alliance will get used. It will be part of their contracted work.
So we're going to upgrade, do those upgrades
Yep.
that they recommended?
Yep.
Okay.
The paving, I've talked to central office, sent them an email, asking for help in sort of generating the bid process for that.
Okay.
And then hopefully having it in place so we can have it done in the spring,
Okay.
because I missed the fall.
Well, the plows won't ding up new
That's true.
paving, so you'll
That's
feel
true.
better in the spring.
I know.
There's not issues with it. So that's the good news, anyway. And anything going on with PTFO? How's that working in the volunteer
Is there anything not
opportunities?
going on with PTFO?
That's the other thing I wanted to ask you.
There's, the mum sale just finished. We made more than we made last year, but I haven't counted it out. We have the pie sale coming up for Thanksgiving. The Redemption Center has an account in our name, so if you miss the one Saturday pickup, bring your returnables to the Redemption Center, tell them it's for Dummerston School, and they will add it to our account, which is great. That will go on all year. The Penny War is generating about $100 a month, which is great. What else do we have? We have Stephanie Bowen doing the Vermont books. Those have proved to be quite a moneymaker, and having her here at both of the open houses was very helpful.
That was a great idea.
Yeah, that's great, yeah.
There's a whole list. We're going to sell attire again.
So,
Attire.
attire.
Dummerston attire.
Attire.
I have 4.
Because I need
No.
Right. So the attire sale will happen hopefully before the holidays. The apparel, sorry.
Yeah.
Apparel attire. What else? The vendor, the shopping extravaganza,
yeah.
November 11th will happen.
Oh, okay.
again.
God, you've got that all in your head, you're good.
Could you elaborate on a couple?
Yes.
You elaborate on the pennies and elaborate on the one that was just in front of that.
Redemption.
The redemption.
Redemption, is that
Bottles.
returnables?
Yeah.
And so we can, because I have a huge full thing ready to go somewhere, so just take it down to
Yes. They're,
soon.
Take it down to the.
all year we have an account there. So
Oh.
anytime you bring it and you tell them it's for Dummerston School, they will credit our account.
Oh, that's great, okay.
I have a feeling if I said to Lori, do you feel like doing another Saturday pickup, they would do that too. And if that's the case, I can let them know and they'll come right to your house and pick up the bottles.
So you don't have to belong to that in order to take this down?
You
Okay.
do not.
Okay, and then the pennies.
Don't ask me about the penny war, I don't understand it. You need a doctoral degree to figure it out.
Well, I save pennies and I've been
Oh, yeah.
trying to figure out what's going on over here.
Good luck with that. The kids, the good thing is the kids understand it completely. They figure out whose class they want to put quarters in and coins in, which is sort of a demerit for that class. Don't ask me how. And which ones they want to put pennies in.
It's right out there. I think there's some explanation, so I
I
don't
didn't
probably-
understand it, so
Yeah.
that's why we're trying to.
Great.
I think the recorder's.
Well, I'm not the person to come to find out.
Sylvie's very good at.
So do I give
you know,
Sylvie my pennies? Is
Give
that what I
Sylvia
do?
pennies, she's got the strategy all out to,
I have to share, though, I've got 2 granddaughters, so I have to half and half here, okay.
yeah.
In fact, because we had just done our recycling, and so we talked to Lori about maybe putting something in the school newsletter to say, like, hold on to your returnables. Like, she was going to maybe schedule one, because I would hold on to it for a while and stick stuff in the garage, and then if somebody wanted to do that, do a pickup.
Yeah.
So maybe touch base with her about it. She's like, oh, that's a really good idea, rather than come to our house to get 5 seltzer cans, you know.
True.
It'd be better to get, especially for older folks, that would be actually a nice service,
Yep.
too, who don't want to carry them down.
And coming up will be a spring vendor sale, but also in early spring around March, they're going to try to do another cookbook again.
I've
And
only got 4 of them already, come on.
some of you wrote.
Well, yeah, that was the best one of all.
And then in June, have it ready for June, they're going to do a calendar again, a June to June, so it will include the school calendar of events,
Oh, nice.
which will be out. And then, you know, the calendars that used to have somebody's anniversary and birth dates on it.
Cool.
I used to write them down in a book and keep
Yep.
them.
Thank you, Joe Carroll. All right, anything else for administrative? All right, so the fields discussion. Michael and I went and spent a lovely hour with the select board, sort of outlining the concept of the triple net lease with the select board, seeing if there was interest for the select board. You know, there's a lawyer on the select board, because I think he said, asked the question back and said, well, did the Dummerston Town School Board vote to have us take over the fields? And I think our original vote was to discuss the transfer of the fields with the select board to see if there was interest. So they have asked us to vote if we want them, we would be interested in having them take the field. Of course, we don't know the contract. It's not like we're voting on a contract because there is no contract that's been signed. So, you know, Michael and I made the point, like, chicken the egg. We're not voting on a contract, but we're voting on interest, which is a non-binding vote. Am I making that sort of clear? It was about an hour-long conversation, and there was some concern. Some people didn't understand that we weren't transferring the building, that it was just the athletic field, so that was a hurdle, even though we had discussed it. So, and there was some interest. Steve Glaybeck, who passed away this past weekend, he actually said he had great interest in it. He thought those fields were really important to the school, and it was a very nice moment of big picture, thinking about how important those fields are to all the rec boards and all the kids that use those fields. And I think he stepped back from the, what's the insurance gonna cost and how this is gonna be handled, and really had a nice big picture view of what those fields mean. So I guess I would like to discuss that a little bit as a board, and then maybe hold a vote that the board is voting to ask the select board to look into taking over the field. Is that a good summation?
I think that's a pretty good summation. I mean, there's definitely, it was, like you said, it was part of the discussion was the chicken and the egg, that we don't have something necessarily that's binding at this point in time, but we're kind of seeing if they would be a dance partner in this, really, is what it comes down to. And they express different views and, have some different opinions amongst themselves, but I think there's interest in what would a real proposal look like, I guess is really what it comes down to. So,
yeah. I think their long-term goal was to, well, first they asked us to form a nonprofit, and I said, the board is a little stressed right now with everything else going on, and so I think their long-term goal would be to either move it to a rec board administered situation, or find their own nonprofit, but as an interim method. So that was the other little tangle I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from board members on that? Jody, any questions, thoughts?
After watching that segment of the select board and the two of you, I was a little confused, because in my mind, this has to be done before the vote, but it didn't seem like the two of you thought that it had to be done before the vote, and I think that should be made clear pretty soon.
At this point, I can't go back to the select board until we have a vote from our board to look at it.
But I just wanted to bring that to your
Yeah.
attention, that, we've got, 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah,
I think we're my take is that we're a fully formed entity until we're not operational anymore, and so we have time perhaps beyond the vote.
Well, I know that Putney has made a big push to get their forest taken care of and have meetings and all this other stuff, and so it just kind of concerned me. So
it's not a surprise to anyone on the study committee, and there was discussion, and the whole study committee had said that whatever Dummerston wants to do is fine with the study committee. That was the agreement in the end.
well, I'm a little concerned, because some of the things in the articles say your debt at the time of the vote, or your debt at this, or your debt at that, and I just wanted to pass it off.
Thanks. So I would entertain a motion. Anybody feels like wording a motion? If there's any question about who's being asked to form it?
I move that we vote as a school board to approach the select board in a formal way to discuss the transfer of the fields surrounding the Dummerston School, but not the Dummerston School, to the town.
Do I hear a second? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? Unanimous. Thank you. Act 46 Study Committee. Missed my second one due to being locked out of my house and getting a flat tire all within a half an hour. So I'll do my best to update the articles on September 21st were approved by the Board of Education. 20th? That was the 21st. Oh, 20th? Okay. Either the 20th or the 21st were approved by the Board of Education. We have signed the warrant for that, because I know, Emily, you were out. The vote will be on November 7th. There will be a forum in Dummerston on October 30th. given by the study committee. That's a statutory requirement, that the study committee, 10 days prior to the vote. So there's a whole, because there's 4 towns voting on this, we're doing a bunch of meetings back to back to meet that statutory requirement. I think that's the one kind of surprising thing, I guess, that I had missed maybe, and I'm not sure if I've updated the board, or maybe we did speak about this, is that the new board would not become operational until June of 2018, 19?
The end of June, right?
June
19.
30,
19.
June 30th, 2019, yeah. So up until that time, if the merger passes and you took out a 2-year petition, you're still on the board, so just FYI. Petitions were due last week, I believe. I think I have heard, though I have not verified, that there was only one petition taken out for the Dummerston seat, which was taken out by Ruth Barton, our current high school representative. The candidates at large, and I apologize, I should have called Lori today to reconcile this. Have you talked to Lori?
Oh, yeah, I've talked to all the town clerks.
Oh, so I think just the ones that are coming for the at-large positions here would be important for people to hear about.
Ian Torrey, who is on the high school board, has taken out a 4-year term. Sean Murphy from Guilford has taken out, and that's at large, I'm sorry, Ian Torrey's at large.
Yeah.
Sean Murphy from Guilford has taken out a 2-year at large.
Mhm.
Alice Laughlin has taken out a 4-year at large. So that would be the votes that came out of Dummerston.
Okay.
What I was absolutely floored by is that there is nobody taking out a Brattleboro town vote. There is nobody taking out a Guilford town vote. And these are the people who are really pushing for the merger. And it seems to me if they really believe in the merger, somebody should have taken out a petition for these, because Brattleboro has 4 seats going begging and Guilford has 1 seat going begging.
5? Oh, 4 seats, that's right.
Yeah, because Ann Beekman has taken one out for Putney.
Oh. Good. Yeah, it's hard to look into your date timer for July 1, 2019, but it's a shame because all these people that are seasoned board members, it'd be great if there was more interest, but Dummerston will have a representative, so. I don't think I have anything else to say about that. I was hoping Amy would be here, so. The current articles, the final articles are on the website. It doesn't say final till you get into them, but it's the September 11th articles are on the SU website if you want to review those. For your reading pleasure. Any other questions on that? Moving right along, VSBA updates.
Well, we're
Yes.
gonna put that vote here that I talked about at the very beginning of the meeting.
Yes, you're right. My apologies.
Sorry to jump in
Wasn't
and
reading
interrupt.
Yeah.
my own notes. So, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'm trying to find in my scratch where I put it. Or where I had scribbled down something. Oh yeah, I move that the Dummerston Town Board entertain a vote on our opinion, expressing our opinion about the articles of agreement as adopted by the state board, because I've been asked and I don't know what our opinion is.
Second. At least for purposes of discussion. So, discussion?
Like I said, I've been asked what our board's opinion is, and I don't think we've ever taken that kind of like going to the select board with an idea, but not really having a vote on the matter. This is similar and analogous to that situation where we're not necessarily taking any binding action. We're not taking any binding action
Right.
on behalf of the school board for any purpose other than to express our opinion.
I will say that I am concerned in the articles that it was not possible to put in the articles protections even for 5 years for our middle school. And it was also, despite, and many people from Dummerston came to many meetings and expressed concern about the school closure process and that towns weren't taken into account and how that was going to transpire. And so I still share those concerns for the articles.
I agree. I mean, especially the protection of the middle school, that's a big concern.
I'm concerned about possibility of moving teachers around
Yeah.
and what they said.
So any further discussion? So we're expressing an opinion, so the motion is to have a vote to support the articles? What is the motion?
I could simplify, I'm happy to take a friendly amendment
Okay.
to the motion.
Thank you.
That would make it clear, does the Dummerston Town School Board as presently existing today support the articles or not?
Okay.
I guess yay would be support, so the vote's clear.
Excellent. Thank you for that clarification. Does everybody understand the vote? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to support the articles as submitted to the Dummerston Town School Board, as Michael stated, please signify by saying aye. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Nay. 4 nays. Thank you, Michael, for reminding me about that.
No problem.
VSBA updates. So we had a meeting, the 28th, was it?
26th.
26th of the VSBA. We elected, would anybody else like to talk who was there? I'm really tired of hearing my voice, and I'm sure you are all as well. I feel like I'm trying to ramble. Is anybody else interested in discussing it?
Sure, I was there. I can talk about it. So there was a regional meeting hosted by the Vermont School Boards Association. They presented information. Well, actually, first there was a regional meeting, which meant more than just the WSESU Supervisory Union. It included Marlborough and other towns, I believe Dover, possibly some Twin Valley representatives. I know there were some. Laura Sibilia was there, who I know represents Dover in the State House, for example. There were some further representatives from the Vermont School Boards Association, including I can't pronounce his last. I'm sorry.
Honig, I think.
Gio Honig, who is the VSBA president. Nicole Mace, who is the executive director of the VSBA, and they presented information, or they held a meeting first, which was the region's meeting to appoint a representative, and a new representative was voted in by the members present, and that was, somebody help me with his name?
Dan MacArthur.
Dan MacArthur. So Dan MacArthur is the new representative for this southeast region. I don't really know how they describe it, but
I think it's like whole Windham County. I think it's all of Windham County.
Southern, maybe it's the whole of Windham County.
I think it's all of Windham County.
So anyways, Dan MacArthur is the new representative for this area. They're going to be holding a statewide meeting within the next week or so.
Lake Maury, yeah.
I'm sorry, do you remember
In
what
Lake
it was?
Maury, I think,
In Lake
in
Maury, I think it was
October.
on the 17th, 18th, 19th, somewhere in that range. I'm sure if you looked at the Lake Maury Resorts website, they would tell you, or if you looked at the VSBA website, it will tell you when their annual meeting is. They talked about the process of bringing resolutions to the VSBA to be decided annually at their at the annual meeting, and how they presented resolutions. And I was interested to learn at the meeting myself that the VSBA looked back to prior resolutions that had passed to see if they really had kind of authority to talk about an issue that was under consideration at the State House. And the example used this year was funding, and funding in particular the healthcare, and whether or not the VSBA was going to support, not support, how it was going to approach the move by the governor's office and the executive branch to bring negotiations into a statewide negotiation scheme for all teachers' healthcare. And so there was some discussion about how they felt they had authority based on a prior resolution that had passed some time ago. I think it was, in my recollection, it was 4 or 5 years ago, that they thought allowed them the authority to go ahead and do that. My opinion on that was that they ate a little crow at the regional meeting about how that process went down, given the position that the VSBA had taken, in support of the governor's plan to bring healthcare negotiations all to the state level, to a single negotiation. What did we do then? We broke up into smaller groups and kind of discussed. What did we discuss?
Resolutions, because they have not been getting many resolutions.
Okay.
From the membership. So we all sort of talked about, it's too late to bring resolutions for this year, but to try to work to find resolutions for next year, pretty much. If we'd come up with something then, and some group may have, mine didn't particularly, but because they don't want to have a resolution brought from the floor, pretty much, which it would be at this point. But to get members thinking about the direction of the SBA.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Is there somewhere, I heard that the resolutions or something, they passed out a whole bunch of them, and there was a packet of stuff. Is there somewhere that the public can get that packet?
You can look up their resolutions online. On their website.
Okay,
Far right-hand side, there's like the bylaws and the resolutions.
okay, thank you.
Oh, one other. I think it goes to what we're discussing. Well, anyway, they're talking about how they changed their funding, and this has come up at both the WSESU board level, and because they changed their bylaws a year or so ago, in anticipation of a number of mergers being successful around the state of Vermont, they no longer directly represent individual school boards, but really represent larger districts such as supervisory unions and supervisory districts. So they're changing the way, because they're a membership organization of boards, they're changing the way that they receive their dues by splitting it 50-50 between, I can't remember how the first one was calculated. It was
The first one is half of your dues are split among all the SUs evenly.
That's
and then
that's the
half of the
okay.
dues are based on
your
the
average,
ADM.
Yeah, your average daily membership of students based on that's how 50%. And they talked about how they're not going to increase dramatically. I think it was, or probably decrease dramatically. I don't remember that part, but
Yeah.
But how they would try to level it off if the dues were going to go way up.
That's
But
kind of
that
under
was
the
the change.
WSESU board updates as well, so we
Yep.
can, and I did pass out to everyone the email to Alice Laughlin
Oh yeah, that's right.
in the packet that I emailed to you with materials to talk about, so we can talk about that more in a minute, I guess. Thank you very much for covering that for me, Michael.
Sure.
So we had a WSESU board meeting last week, and the three of us were there, so this is more to bring you on board, Emily. One of the things that's been going on for about a year now is the responsibilities of the WSESU Finance Committee. My understanding is that like 5 years ago, there used to be a negotiations committee and a policy committee and a finance committee at the SU level. And about 2 years ago, those were not filled, and the executive committee was being used more, the finance committee was being used more as an executive committee. And there was some public feedback about that, and the decision was made that Jill Stahl-Tyler, I recollect, asked that we come up with a laundry list of what the recommendations were from the superintendent for the responsibilities of the finance committee of the supervisory union. You guys all with me?
I can also share that the finance committee has taken it upon themselves to try to come up with a list of duties and responsibilities that they feel that they should be given, and maybe that they're already doing, which is
Right.
the awkward part.
Yeah. The old chicken and egg.
Yeah, so that's something that's going on. I mean, and this board, I think, should be asked whether it, it believes that those are things that should be condensed down to really a single representative on the finance committee serving, or maybe not, maybe there would be new elections, but a single representative representing the town's interests at that level on the WSESU. I think that's an open question at this point, and one that hasn't really been hashed out.
I think there was some good discussion. One proponent said, well, we just want to limit the number of people that have to go to meetings and sort of consolidate sort of stuff. And if you're talking about the money of something, talk about the other piece of it. I think it was somebody from Brattleboro on the high school board said, well, you might not have the right skill set, and isn't that asking a lot of someone to do all that? And if said, if you have somebody who's a really good, is an HR specialist, and you have somebody who's a CFO of a company, wouldn't you want to spread out that talent and use the talent, because not everybody's good at everything. So that was generally where that was basically the big discussion, and the decision was made to kick it back to the boards and have a board level discussion and become more informed. I think the finance committee hasn't quite figured out what their laundry list is.
I can say with certainty that's true. Yes.
So, are they just quick questions, or are they input? Oh, quick question. I'm always happy to answer clarifying questions.
Well, I don't know if it's been clarified what the FCU's intent is, but I would hope that the board would want to be the entity that appoints whoever is the member of the executive committee, and that it's not the SU that selects or votes amongst the SU members for each board. That would really take the town's representation on any executive committee out of the school board's hands. So.
That's a good question. In my mind, I thought it was going to proceed as it had, but it's a good question to ask of our finance committee representative, perhaps.
I don't think that's been fleshed out by any stretch of the
Okay.
imagination, but I mean, I think certainly if we told them that that's the way we wanted to do it, that's
Yeah.
a much different, and I think we would have the ability to do so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't have the ability to do so. It's our representative on the
Right.
board, and if they are changing the roles and responsibilities, or at least formalizing the maybe informal ways that they've done business in the past, at least the board should have a say in who gets the representation at that level. I mean, if it's
Yeah.
even something that the Dummerston Town School Board wants to see go forward.
Any other thoughts on it, or questions, thoughts? We can. Jody has thoughts, though.
Yeah, over the years, I've watched what's happened at the SU, and I've watched the control go to a small number of people. And I think, you've got the negotiations, you've got the financing, you've got the executive, whatever. In my mind, I would like to encourage the board to encourage the SU to keep them separate and involve more people and not just have this small group of people running everything, which is it's appearing to be.
Thank you, Jody.
A clarifying point that I think there is a negotiations committee right now. It just hasn't really done much.
Yeah, we have a committee member. I think Amy's on it.
Oh, okay.
I think, at least at the last finance committee meeting, there was some discussion that maybe the negotiations committee's job was done because there was a new contract that's going to be in place for 3 years.
Right,
So
right.
it's unclear, does that committee disband, what happens?
Mhm.
And there's no clear, it's kind of messy right now, that's all.
Okay.
My experience with other boards is finance gets, whoever gets the short straw gets the finance committee in the organizational meetings, like, no, you take it. So, you know, I mean, sometimes that the finance committee and other SU board committees are going begging for members. They aren't right now, but historically there has, you know, it's not necessarily a plum appointment.
So don't feel so proud of yourself.
Let's go to the new one.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Michael.
That's okay.
I mean, I tend to lean towards, it's nice to have things spread around myself, but I'd be interested to get a final laundry list. It's also nice to make things easier on the SU, but, you know, maybe that doesn't necessarily make it easier having one group. I guess it depends on who's on the group.
It seems like it would depend more on who's in the group as to
Yeah.
what kind of information feedback stream you might or might not get. I mean, that's just, I think, natural, you know, whether or not it's a desirable position or not. I think it behooves whoever is doing it to really be a conduit of information back to not only their other SU representatives, but to the board as a whole, so that they understand what's going on, but that, you know, might prove difficult with a concentrated structure.
So, since we don't have a formal laundry list from the Finance Committee at this point, I'm going to table this discussion until we have that from the SU, I think, so we can really consider it. But I did want to bring it up while it's fresh in our minds and just think a little bit about our vision for that. We have 2 new SU policies, which I forwarded to y'all. If only I could find mine. Oh, here it is. Does everybody have a copy of that? All right. So any comments on the wellness policy?
So I didn't get a copy of either of these policies.
Would you like me to make that?
Here, Nick, I can do it.
You're gonna get my comments on it? Here. That's my copy though, I already made it, so.
There, it's 8 pages.
Yeah.
8 pages.
Yeah, I know, I wanna make it to like
Tried.
8 pages, jeez.
We tried.
Whenever I see an 8-page policy, I think, what are you sneaking in there, Mr. Smith? That's what I think.
Oh, it's great to
I
have
was-
some.
I was at the high school today for a meeting. In the bathrooms is advertised, bake sale during lunchtime. And I was like, no! Next day on that thing. That is so against any of the policy.
These policies haven't been adopted yet, have they?
There is already a policy
Oh.
about that. That was part of the old wellness policy. But it's like getting the communication out to folks is so hard.
Well, but it's like, when you think about schools, when you think about the Pentagon raising money, you think about taxes, and when you think about schools raising money, you think about bake sales, so it's a.
Yeah, absolutely. And bake sales are great, but to put it against the National School Lunch Program,
Yeah.
nutritionally
Yeah.
balanced meals is kind of, probably don't want to go there. But I say that only to sort of introduce, that's the sort of thing that's in the wellness policy, is that those nutritional guidelines, there's guidelines for physical activity, the guidelines for other food at school, basically.
I guess that would be, I guess we'll wait till Joe Carroll comes back. Yeah.
Do you have a copy of the policy in front of you?
Oh, you need a copy too? Oh, you have it? That's there it is. Well, that's part of it. No, that's part of it. That's the end of it.
That's the end of it. Where's the rest of it?
The rest is.
You can attach it to the back of this?
Code E11.
No. No, that's best practice.
Wait, whip you off a copy?
Of that, yes, please.
Okay.
only be worried about the bake sale if they were selling Cheetos at the bake sale.
But it did look to me, who's got my copy? It said I wrote bake sale. It
They're
does
so
look to me
easy
like
to bring
bake
them.
sales are prohibited now. Do you have a copy of my
Yeah.
original? Yeah, it says on point F, on the first page.
Goals for overall school wellness. Point F.
Maybe
Where's
so,
the
that's
use of
right.
healthy and local food?
I think that is more about the pizza sales and the dough fundraisers.
I didn't see cookie or brownie mentioned anywhere in the policy. I will say that to its credit. I don't-
Encourage, it doesn't say you
It
have to.
doesn't say encourage. It
Says
doesn't bar.
To
It
avoid
doesn't say.
participation in fundraising that promote a message inconsistent with our goals for a healthy school community. So I was like, does that mean no third grade bake sale for the, that's kind of where I was like, well, okay, yeah, I can see not doing it at lunchtime. I'm totally down with that.
Yeah, I think,
Our pie sale, is that,
I read it as though we used to do the, the sort of big popcorn bin sales and the coffee cake kinds of
Those
doughy
braid
things
coffee
and
bin,
pizza, fundraisers that were specific to commercial baked goods and things. And certainly, we've gotten, the recommendation is still that even your bake sales are healthy. And, you do the best you can,
so
And
we
you
could
raise a lot of
encourage
money
it.
for the Humane Society.
more with cookies than you do with tofu. But, we have so few bake sales and.
I know. It just said like shall avoid participation. I'm like, well,
So my question, Paul, is where does the policy actually come from?
The policy was developed based on 2 documents, and it happened over a period of time because the documents kept getting updated. One is a nutritional health and wellness policy guidelines from the state of Vermont, and the other is from the Centers for Disease Control, their brand new approach, whole school, whole community, whole child, whole WC3. It's their overall recommendations, and in both cases, what you see in this policy is really following those guidelines from the state of Vermont and from CDC WC3.
Do they say shall?
shall.
It depends on the segment. For
It is
instance,
recommended.
school meals, because that's federally funded, the school meal program, there are some, and the third document, which is the Healthy and Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010, that really had to do with the nutrition guidelines. There are lots of shalls there. Beverages shall follow USDA Smart Snacks in Schools guidelines as part of da-da-da-da-da. These include free potable water available, and you may sell plain water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can't sell Gatorade.
So, as every other
For example.
policy, the board can do their own thing, make changes, right?
Well, yeah, there was a lot that went into this. Yes, that is true. In some cases, avoiding or changing the policy might actually put you in violation of the guidelines for school nutrition, USDA school nutrition, school lunch program guidelines. Others probably would not.
Well, guidelines itself just says guidelines. So how does that compare with a shall and a guideline? I should be quiet, but anyway, I'm just thinking of how things are worded makes a big difference in anything.
Well, I'm thinking if we have a serious concern, we should probably kick it back and figure out if
Sure.
it's something that's going to
Sure.
put us in violation
Sure.
or not, and that
Yeah.
would probably inform
Sure.
our decision-making process as a board.
Yep.
I'm curious, do we have a teacher, do we have a licensed health educator in the school?
Does the WSESU have a licensed health educator?
Nope. It depends on the school. There is a licensed health educator at BAMS. There is a licensed health educator at the high school.
Okay.
There was a point in time when we had an itinerant, as part of a grant, had an itinerant health educator. There is some, I think there is some discussion, some flexibility around providing some waivers for that particular piece. It's not entirely clear right now.
Right now, we use science and nursing.
Right, that was my
And phys
concern,
ed.
that we piece it together with excellent personnel, but if our policy is requiring us that we have a licensed health educator,
It would be silly to adopt it.
is there a waiver that we can have for 7th and 8th grade, or is it easy enough to become a licensed health educator if you're a nurse? I mean, what are our options?
No, it's not easy.
Okay.
It's
Short answer,
a,
no.
yeah, it's a full board licensing requirement. And I just know during the wellness committee meetings, it's always been, well, we don't have them. The state wellness committee saying, well, policy says you're gonna have to have them.
And that's a state educational quality standard rule? Rule 3400, I believe? Something like that?
And if you're in violation of it, then what happens?
Good point. Also, how will nutritional content of school meals be made available to students and parents? What will be the mechanism for that?
Depends on the program you're using.
Fitz vote,
Yeah.
they're, where are they? On the menu? Are they on the monthly menu?
No,
Not that I've noticed.
I've never seen it, so then I was curious, is this going to be an expense for our food program, or is it?
My experience with, I think it's Cafe Services, I'm assuming Fitzvogt has the same process. There is, at the very least, a notebook of menu items with nutritional value listed.
I see.
And I think they are available on request.
They have to know how many different things are in each item. They have to know, they have to report what they serve and the content
Right.
every day to somebody.
Right, I'm just wondering how it's made accessible to parents and students.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are available on request. It's just, they have that computed, caloric content, all of that, and it's available.
Anybody else have issues? Chime in, I got some more.
Superintendent or his or her designee shall report at least annually to the board on the district's compliance with law and policies related to student wellness.
That's been designated the WELAC, the District Wellness Advisory Council, Advisory Committee.
Okay.
Mostly nurses come. We have, and also some community provider representatives. Marianne makes it most meetings.
Okay.
So, okay, here's one for you, Paul. I think it goes from page 4 of 8 to page 2 of 8, unless it's me.
That could be my editing.
Okay.
What's the last?
So the one before here was on nutritional guidelines. And then it goes to A and then B, and that's on page 4 of 8, and then it looks like it goes to
See.
3 and then C, and it seems like it's following along, because it's talking about juice and beverages, but the page title is 2 of 8, and I don't have a 5 of 8,
Okay.
and then it appears to,
Yeah, I don't
You guys have
have
that too.
that copy. I've got the original that I
I
that
gotcha,
sent,
so that's
no.
the,
Let's see. So
I can make you a copy at the end of this.
no, I just want to find where I am. Food sold at other time is C. Oh, it got renumbered. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Foods must also meet pertaining to food sold or offered. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Only foods. Yes. And then the next after this is goals. This ends the section.
It looks
The
like,
next
yes.
is goals for physical education.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good, all right. So that
So it is
should be
page
a 5.
5 of 8?
It is page
Okay.
5 of 8, yes. Okay, so on page 5 of 8, section C, 1A, when I read through that laundry list of any food sold in schools must, I think you mean or for that, perhaps? Because it makes it look like it has to be a whole grain rich grain product and have as the first ingredient fruit and vegetable, be a combination of foods, a quarter cup fruit and vegetable. Is that all those things have to apply to a food? Do you follow what I'm saying, or is that
Yeah,
either or?
Or.
Or.
Yes.
Because I think that's a little unclear,
Yeah.
because I was like, I don't know many foods
Okay.
that,
Yeah, yeah,
Like that lunch, like the
Time.
students have to have each one of those items on their tray.
yeah. So, at the end of each of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, or are they A, B, C, D on yours?
I.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, would be or have that as the first ingredient for da-da-da-da, or be a combination
Right,
of foods.
I think that's the intent, right?
Yep.
Okay, I just think that just makes it clear. Because for the next one, where it's A, B, C, D,
Although this
The
is,
or is at the end of 3. I think.
or,
Be a whole grain rich grain
Anyway,
product.
we can
Or,
clarify that.
yeah.
We can clarify that.
because like if you're serving a piece of chicken, it's not a whole grain rich product. So that wouldn't, so we can't,
Yep.
right, but it's
it's gonna be a
talking
lot of
about,
tofu and quinoa.
I think it's talking about foods that are sold, that are distributed at
Snacks
other
and
times besides breakfast
Smart
and lunch.
snacks in schools.
They have to follow the Smart Snacks in Schools guidelines, which are pretty specific to,
Oh, so maybe that is meant to be
yeah.
each.
Yeah,
So
we
they wouldn't be
can't.
doing chicken, they would be doing,
Yes, like, we can't sell Cheetos in the vending machine.
We don't
And-
even have vending machines, do we?
You know.
I
High school
don't think
does.
so. Oh, okay.
The asterisk at the bottom of that, because I clarified with Paul earlier, those are the school hours.
school hours go from midnight till like 9, 11 o'clock at night or something. I mean, I'm serious, they get you.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, it's like.
They
from 6 o-
determine that?
They do. It's from
Oh,
like 4 in the morning till midnight. So if you're gonna have a late basketball game, if you're selling anything, it's
to
gonna
give
have,
you a raise, Joe Carroll. Should be collecting
including
overtime.
8th grade dances, that's why they.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
oh.
Again, another whole.
I didn't
worse.
even think about that.
So the things that light up that you eat, are they?
I'm curious also, on page 6 of 8, schools shall try to increase the minimum of physical education to meet Vermont school wellness policy, 225 minutes per week for middle and high school students. It's a lot. Where are we at now? Per
We
week?
are at 100 minutes for middle school.
And same for elementary?
No, 90.
And that's physical education, that's not even physical activity. So we're talking about a really significant increase.
No, we've always, that's gone
45
up
minutes a
considerably,
day.
'cause we've always.
45 minutes a day of phys ed,
That's what I had when I was in high school.
For
middle schoolers.
middle schools.
That's what I had when I was in high school. I had 5 days a week with Jim.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not currently done at the high school, that's not currently done,
I mean, we have our walking groups, our 14, I mean.
but that's not physical education, that's physical activity.
Oh, this is physical education.
That's the, yeah, so that's like Kim Lane. That's like all this stuff, goals for physical education.
Even if we could afford it, there's not enough time in the day.
Not enough time in the day, so we're talking about extending the school day to meet the wellness policy, I think. Okay, so we have a significant concern fiscally, time of day, staffing. SU-wide, I think, really. It's going to change.
So the wording is shall try.
Okay.
And, looking at the guidelines from CDC and the state, and the response has been, we do have, not in this school, but nationwide, an epidemic of obesity. And clearly, one of the ways that you combat obesity is with physical activity.
Right.
And so the folks that are supposed to know are saying, this is what you need to be able to do. And I think as a goal, it's a great goal. We might not get there right away, but as a goal, it's pretty laudable. And I think the way it's worded, nobody is going to come to the board and say, you are in violation of your policy. But they might come and say, hey guys, is there a way we can get more physical education for kids? And I think that'd be a great discussion for the
SU, NS.
Sure.
Also, I think there's the physical activity versus the physical education in terms of the impact and in terms of, not to diminish anything about physical education at all, but I just think maybe that goal could be written in a way that's a little bit more, that would allow something like winter activities. If you're going, cross-country skiing for 3 hours, that might be one of the ways to address that, even though it's not considered to be physical education. So maybe that might be a way to try to move towards some increased physical activity without the school day having to take it.
Maybe also, organize sporting teams. Participation in, although it's not a physical education teacher, you have a coach who's guiding you in the sport that you're playing.
So that's something to go back to the SU, I think.
So I think in terms of process, getting something down that goes back to the SU so we can incorporate those changes and questions in the next thing that goes to the SU board would be great.
Yes. Would anybody like to take that over? Okay, I'll put something together and I'll send it out. How's that? Okay. I'm gonna stop talking now then. La 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 la. Luckily, that's really all I had for comments. Anybody else have any comments on the wellness? Does anybody think any of my thoughts or comments were outlandish?
I guess just generally speaking, how do we do for age-appropriate nutrition education, or grade-appropriate nutrition education? Do we do that? Because that's also included, I saw it, at least in the goals for child nutrition, on page 3 of 8.
So every
I'm sorry.
teacher has access to the Michigan Model for Health, which is a comprehensive wellness policy, and there are materials for a nutrition unit there, as well as science curriculum. And I will say up front, I don't know how many teachers are actually making deep use of that nutrition piece. Although I will say that teachers in the district always strike me as being interested, concerned, and wanting to make sure kids understand what good nutrition is. And so those resources, even if it's not teaching the units formally, that background information, that those lesson plans are available if teachers want to use them. Also, there is, I believe it's the 4th grade level, there is an assigned science unit that is nutrition. I'll pull up the document in just a second. I'm pretty sure it's 4th grade. There. Oops, go back. Too many files. 4th grade. Science units. Not there. Hang on. Anyway, I can tell you, but at one of the grades, there is nutrition is a more formal science unit as
Right.
part of the curriculum.
Okay.
And then there's a garden project in middle school. I'll tell you, the fresh fruit and vegetable program last year was very good at introducing kids to healthy alternative kinds of snacks, teaching them about it, getting them to compete with each other in taste testing, and the kitchen was real helpful in, you know, using whatever it was throughout the month in different forms. So,
Is that happening this year?
no, because we didn't meet the free and reduced requirements.
But that I thought Ike was working on a potential fix.
I is hoping that when they look at it again in December, that we might qualify, or maybe there might be money that hasn't been used yet that they could funnel to us, because I certainly think we could find some stipend to give. Yeah, I mean, the counselor does part of it. She does sort of the monthly taste testing, and food program still will work with her and do that, getting it in different varieties throughout the month. But I'll tell you what Lori Reynolds did with cucumbers and cups was just pretty remarkable when you saw how the middle school and kindergartner, you know, would just jump on it when it came into the classroom. She just, she made me eat cucumbers out of cups, you know. It's all in the presentation.
Do you have a sense of how much that program costs to?
Yes, I think we got like $5,000.
Wow.
And she probably got 500 of it, if that, for the year. Yeah, so, but it was about an hour a day. We've got, you know, we got all the startup stuff. We got the bowls and everything that we needed, which we didn't have, the cards.
So
You know,
maybe
even if we
something-
did it twice a week or something, that would be.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if we should maybe put it on for an agenda item for next time to discuss the snack program and how we could fund it in a limited way to keep that program going at the board level. So I'll put that on the agenda.
Just in the quick notes that I have, last April, for the month of April, which was only 15 school days, Dummerston was allocated $480 for food and $60 for supplies. So multiply
Okay.
that by over 500 by at least 9 months.
So that's 500.
Yeah, very close. So,
Yeah.
if we were talking about half that, can you get a person to do it half-time, do you think? That's even a possibility? Well,
Lori would do it again in a minute.
Okay, good to know. All right, so let's put that on the agenda for next time. That's a good discussion. So we done pretty much with our nutrition wellness policy?
I just had a question on page 6 of 8 about the facilities and equipment. Like, where do we fall on like the safety inspection currently? Is that something that is already happening, or?
For the playground?
I think it has to do with, you know, any equipment used in PE, anything.
Oh, that's
Physical
part-
education.
yeah. It says goals for physical education, so I guess that's, you'd think it would apply to everything, but.
And who would be charged with that?
I think Kim would be charged with
Okay.
it. And, I'm trying to think, it's not like we have gymnastics equipment or equipment that, they would fall from. She's so into fitness that, right, so she's not like she's,
There's probably not a lot of equipment that's,
yeah, I mean, it's not like she's got headgear for, you know, field hockey stuff. It's just appropriate equipment.
If you think about like the soccer goals, like, are those
Yeah, those are
inspected? Those belong to the rec?
the ones that are in need of repair belong to the rec. The ones that need a paint job belong to the school.
Okay. That's all I have.
Excellent. And then code F34, transgender and gender nonconforming students. And there were a few things, Sue, that you noted.
Yes. But you have it on page,
I don't have
Oh,
that
okay.
at all.
page 1. It honestly looks like a cut and paste error.
Could be. I didn't put that one together.
Oh, okay. So on page 1, transgender, and from the Vermont Agency of Education, I have their definitions. It says transgender is a term which describes an individual whose gender identity or gender expression is different from the individual's assigned sex at birth.
Oh, there's
Do you
the
see
total
it?
pasted. Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me. That's probably what happened. And then at the SU, Ricky suggested instead of gender nonconforming, use gender creative, because on the state it says on the state definitions. It says what? What did it say?
Gender creative.
It's, here, I can show it to you. It's right here. This bullet right here. It's the same definition, but it says or gender creative. Oh.
I've also
And
heard
Ricky
gender
thought-
expansive.
Yeah,
Sort of been
so-
analyzed.
Yeah, you made a good point. Are you done?
Yeah, so that's what Ricky
Didn't
said.
mean to jump in. Yeah, Ricky was pointing out that if you're making something negative and then defining someone, it's probably not the best way to go if there's another way to say it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was pointing out another way to say it.
Well said, Ricky. Well remembered, everyone else. Okay. All right. Whew. Any more thoughts, questions, problems? Okay, so I will write this up. I will send out a copy to everyone. Please don't reply all, so it's not a discussion happening. VSBA dues. Do we need an executive session tonight for any reason? Okay, moving right along. Just checking the time. So VSBA dues, as Michael alluded to, they have a new policy for the VSBA dues, so it's assessed at the SU level now instead of the district level. We did not vote to pay the bill. It will come back to us. It's not like the SU's paying it and we're off the hook, because it'll come back to us through our SU assessment. But I think it was a good time to have a discussion about how much we're using the VSBA. Should we be using it more? You know, is it providing value? It's $11,000 for the whole SU, so about $800 or $900. Could that really be that little? We're like 1/10 of the SU, right? That's much less than we're paying, I think. VSBA.
$1,100, $1,200.
Yeah, it's even less
A
now,
year.
'cause we're like, it's 11,000 some. Yeah, I think we're getting a break on that now. So maybe they're portioning things differently too. So
Oh.
maybe because we're a really big SU, it works out for us because we pay one time for half the fee. So mathematically, I could suspect that I was going to pay a little bit less for a VSBA dues. But I think it was a good time to say, are we using this, or should we be using this? I know we supported it last year. Katie used it a lot as a board chair. I have used it some, although I haven't had to call them about anything. But there are people at the ready. So, one of you may be sitting here one day, so just something to think about. It might be nice to have the SBA to call, but you can skewer it to me this year if you like. But I think it will be voted on at the SU level because it's an SU expense now. So I just wanted to get feedback, and also as a time to say, there are really great trainings that we should maybe think about as a board goal to do some of them. As somebody mentioned at the VSBA meeting, was a board goal that everybody do a training and become a better trained board member. So maybe it might also inform us if we all did a training, if we think it's worthwhile spending our.
I attended one last year and I found
Okay.
it beneficial, so,
Excellent, okay.
yeah.
Any other thoughts? Do you want to vote I would entertain a motion to vote to support that as a board. I guess that's an actionable item that I should move on to another agenda though, because it is actually expenditure of SU funds. I think to be on the safe side, I'll put that down for a vote next time, okay?
Sure.
It's not expenditure of our funds, but it is our funds in the end. And the last WSESU discussion I included in the information I sent to you was the Indigenous Peoples Day, which they came out swinging talking about that. I'm like, what are we even talking about? And I thought, did I miss something along the way? Because they didn't give us a really good segue at that meeting. At least I didn't think so. I might have missed something. I could find it. The background on that, I believe, what I could piece together was, and maybe you can correct me if you know more about this than I do, that Brattleboro voted Columbus Day, Columbus Day was taken off, well, Columbus Day used to not be a holiday, and then Columbus Day was a holiday, and about the same time they decided to just call it a day off and not call it Columbus Day in recognition of the fact that maybe what we all learned about Columbus was maybe not entirely true back, especially when I was going to school. So in recognition of that, they called it nothing for a long time. And then the Brattleboro Town School Board started the process changing the day to be called Indigenous Peoples Day, and the Select Board in Brattleboro as well has decided to recognize the holiday formerly known as Columbus Day, what we call is cleaning up from the apple pie sale day, whatever you want to call it. But I'm not going to stir the pot and request that we call it that on the SU schedule. So Brattleboro has wanted to have it be on the SU school schedule, which goes out SU-wide, that it would be called Indigenous Peoples Day. I don't know as we need to go through the process of creating an Indigenous Peoples Day. We are not doing that tonight. If somebody is interested in doing that, think about it. You can research it a little bit. We could talk about doing that as a board as well. But I do think we were asked to learn if boards had issues with calling it that or not, and so that Brattleboro could ask to have that put on the SU schedule. Is that a good, fair assessment of what transpired?
It's pretty right on, yep.
Yep. So for the purposes, we don't have to have a vote on this, there's no money, it's not actionable. Does anybody have an objection to having that put on the SU schedule, or questions, thoughts, comments about it? Okay. That was a quick point.
Can we make that say that the board has no objections?
The board has no objections.
Okay.
That's a great thing to say.
Just, could it be instead of public schools in Brattleboro, could it be when you said these?
Well, that's a Brattleboro.
Oh, that's the Brattleboro one.
That's the Brattleboro Select Board. Oh, I see, presented, WSESU.
Yeah, that was pointed out at the
Yeah.
meeting.
The WSESU
Okay.
meeting, yeah.
But I didn't know if anybody actually did anything about it.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
So there was a Vermont proclamation
Right.
in 2016 that I thought changed it to Indigenous Peoples Day across the state.
I thought so too.
Oh, well then, we
That's
can just
new
stop talking
information.
One
about it.
is Peter Shumlin's last,
Harassed?
yes.
Well, if it's a state holiday, then they can done.
I, Peter Shumlin's government says to hereby proclaim October 10th, 2016, maybe it was just
I
October
think it was
10th.
just a
It's
one,
the
it's a
one year.
one-off.
Thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
I remember that, yeah. Okay. So I think just the board has no objection, and if we want to entertain that ourselves, we can put that on a future agenda item, let me know. Board norms, yet again, not a quorum, so.
We have a quorum, but, sorry.
I mean, no, sorry, right
You're
now,
on
then
full
again,
board
not a
though.
full board, sorry.
On
One
that
of the
note-
norms should be an hour and 45-minute meeting, especially during the fall when I'm very tired. Did you have something to?
On that, it's not there, but it has been in many agenda of past. The Dummerston, we did vote and we have signed, so I will present to Paul. This is the fully executed version of the Dummerston Town School Board's Code of Ethics.
Oh, excellent. I will make sure that copies are available in the board book and.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We are so happy that's done. Board administration communications, I think, again, without the full board, that's, we end up being 8:10. Middle school and elementary report. Should that remain on unfinished business? Or you feel like giving? We can table that.
We
Well-
have a middle school and an elementary.
You're happy to
Still there.
You're happy to report. Done.
Can you refresh my memory of what that
I don't
was?
quite remember. It's been on there for so long.
Oh, you know what it means? I know what it means. Having middle school or elementary come and do some reporting about something that's happening.
Okay.
Oh,
It's just been, there's just so much now
Yeah.
that it feels like,
Should we take that off the,
I think we should take it off until things,
settle in?
after November, we could start
Okay.
looking at it.
I'll take that off the agenda. Put it in my, oh, I know how we can do that. We're coming to my next item of business. Anything else on unfinished business? Okay. So, the board meeting plan, Lyle, sent me in August, and I have made copies for y'all and put in potential meeting dates, forums that have been scheduled, special meetings that have been scheduled, stuff that we have to do with Frank Town meeting into the work plan. I am not suggesting we complete this work plan now, but that maybe for the meeting in 2 weeks, we come with ideas of what we want to do as a board. Now that it's been very busy lately, so it'd be really nice to get into a more normal rhythm and be able to think in a more proactive way as a board about things. And so what we might want to accomplish as goals. So I'm suggesting that for the meeting in 2 weeks, which that second meeting is supposed to be a work group meeting anyway. So it seems like filling up a board plan would be a very good idea, and setting board goals might be a very good idea. And I'm hearing like some, that sounds goods, I think, but then I just like to think I hear that.
sounds awesome.
I think it sounds great.
Okay.
I think pre-K planning could be a goal for the year.
Yes, I really think that's a goal for the year. And I think that if we're going to think about having a forum to engage the community, that's the one thing that we should really do now, because we have to prepare for it, and we have to notify people of it, and it has to be warned, and if we don't put it in, the budget stuff is going to take us over, and it has to happen before budgeting. So
So you want to do it on the 24th? Or
no,
that week?
No, I don't want to do it on the 24th, because that's our, October 24th, that's our working meeting to fill up the schedule. I'm thinking November's a good time. Maybe the November 14th meeting? What does anybody think about that? Or we could tag it on to the November 2nd, which is the special meeting for that warrant petition.
No,
No?
not November 2nd, but
Okay.
November 14th I'm favorable.
Okay. That gives us a little more time to get ready for it as well. Because I think November 28th, it's too late with the budgeting season, so. So we'll plan to have a forum. So I'm wondering if we should move up our regular meeting time so we can have a meeting beforehand? And then plan the pre-K forum for, I don't know, what do you think? If it goes on and on, it's hard to have a meeting unless we pick up and move somewhere else. I'm just thinking logistically about running a meeting and a forum. I mean, I wouldn't imagine a forum being more than like half an hour.
With little kids.
What?
With the parents of little
Yeah.
kids. I mean, I don't, how do I not remember this stuff? I mean, I don't.
Because it goes really
Yeah,
fast.
it goes really fast. Is it earlier or later? Like they go to bed or?
They go to bed, they
I
bring them,
mean,
maybe we could
you
offer
bring 'em
childcare. I've got someone I can have do that.
Unofficial childcare.
Yeah.
We should do it before a board meeting.
Maybe we should have
Yeah.
a board meeting at like a 6
That's fine.
o'clock.
6 to 7 and then have a,
6 to 7 board meeting, okay.
or 6 to 7
Hard-
forum,
Yeah,
with an ending, and then have a board.
have a board meeting afterwards. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
So if, maybe the way to proceed on the next meeting in terms of filling the schedule and creating goals for the board would be to have people, and I'll have to send this to Amy, have people list topics that they are interested in discussing this year, goals that they're interested in discussing, so that I can circulate that, because sometimes that helps people, oh yeah, that's a good idea, and. So people are sort of can prepare for that meeting on the 24th, and we can use our time effectively. I lost there we go. All set on the planning? Paul,
These are I'll just pass them around, I'll start going in both directions. Contracts for each of the pre-K providers, except for Garland School. Garland School hasn't gotten their contract together yet, so we don't have them, but everybody else is there. These are all the providers,
yeah.
and each one is a different contract. And I was just thinking they could kind of get mixed and matched.
they only have to
and-
be signed by one school board representative?
Looks like, yep.
This one anyway, so once it's signed, here, everybody take a few.
And just as always, this is the arrangement that we have with each of the pre-K providers. They agree to certain things, we agree to certain
This one's
things.
a bunch. Nope, just one, actually.
The, mostly what they agree to is provide a cohesive curriculum, licensed teachers, their programs have star ratings that are 3 stars with a plan or 4 stars. We agree to pay a certain amount of money for 10 hours of publicly funded pre-K, all of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, I should have
You bet.
remembered that that was not something everybody has done. So of course, no good board member would not say, you said there's 17, 15?
18
How many-
or 19?
18?
18.
18 times 0.46, huh? Nice.
Currently, I mean, as I said, it goes up and down. The first round, we do 4 rounds of payments. They invoice us. We check it against a list of parents who have registered for the program, and then provide the check gets cut to the providers. They are supposed to pass it along directly to parents. There was a point in time when it was used for professional development and program improvement, et cetera. But at this point, it's all about, this should be a little over $3,000 break on your tuition for this kid, ostensibly to pay for 10 hours of pre-K.
Do you know the mechanism by which the state calculates what you have for your ADM?
It's that .46.
No, but you said the number goes up and down, so do they take this number now?
Yeah, the pre-K numbers get folded into the October and April, May census data. ADM is that 2-year rolling average based on some calculation of the difference between who we had in October and who we had at the end of the year.
So they do take both those numbers in calculating that, using that .46, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
as they do with all of the ADM counts.
Well, that's nice. So, and how many students do we have right now? Actually,
150.
oh, so it's a little better than.
That 18 is 3 and 4-year-olds, so it's 2
Right.
years worth
Right.
of classes.
So this still counts towards, doesn't it? Or no?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
totally, yeah.
Okay, I thought there was
Just
something I
if you're
didn't
sort of
understand.
Thinking about,
Oh, no, I was not thinking about
Incoming.
that now. I'm just thinking about income.
yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I think finance committee is a plum job myself, but anyway.
Be aware, the state jumped into this pre-K funding mechanism, and now the ed fund, they're like looking for ways to cut down on draw on the ed fund. So this
knows?
is still a moving
I
target.
mean, everything's always a moving target in educational finance, Paul. I
Yeah.
think everything we
Yeah.
talk about could change at any time. So, wow, this is awesome. So we are now to agenda items for the next meeting. So I think I'm hearing that we're going to use the next meeting to set goals and fill out our work plan for the year. Have an idea of what's coming up, and move into a proactive mode for a change. We should probably also discuss at that meeting, because we won't really be meeting again before that pre-K forum, what we're going to talk about.
Right.
So that looks like a good meeting to me.
Sounds about right.
Okay. So please send me your goals. I'll send you all an email reminding you to send me goals for the board and topics of interest. And some of the things that I had thought about would be an SBAC score review.
Sure.
Thinking of you, Paul.
Sure.
These are just ideas that I've had, just maybe to get the conversation rolling. Maybe presentations on curriculum, there's new curriculum, there's a new math program. I don't think we've really heard anything about that in depth. I think that would be a really interesting thing to hear about what we're using, what other schools are using, just to inform the board. Food service at some point, and that maybe we could talk about the healthy meals, and maybe we should do that sooner versus later. I think our food service contract is up to be,
We should make it up and
have it
Yeah.
discussed. So I'm,
well, no, because it's always good when they come and jockey for the program. We get great food that night at the board.
I will all be
Telling you,
hungry.
it's excellent. Out come the walks.
Tablecloth.
Oh, it's true.
Unfinished business.
And so those were some of my, food service, and I think healthy snacks could go in there as well. And then I had some goals about attending VSBA trainings, attending classes. That's actually somewhere I've read that's a goal, that school board members should attend classes at some point and spend a day in a classroom. I had the joy of spending several hours in Kathy's class Kathy Evans's third grade last year. Great bunch, very fun, so it's a fun thing to do. So, and also to have an opportunity to meet staff, because I find that sometimes with new staff too, if my kids have gone through, for us elderly board members who don't have children in second grade, it might be a really nice opportunity that board members could make it a goal to reach out to staff so that they know who we are, and so that we're keeping the community, the educational community. So those were just some off-the-cuff ideas I had, so you're all smarter than me, so I'd love to hear your ideas.
That's a great idea. That's why I did the views, sort of focusing on the new staff, so.
It's like an
Or then
introduction.
bypass them and never see them.
Yes, and I think it's important that we're a small community, there's no reason we should not. Is there any other business?
Can you just listen to this? If it's okay, I'm gonna send it to Roger right now if we can get into the views. The
Okay.
Dummerston School Board is considering offering a preschool program for Dummerston residents for the 2018-2019 school year. Parents and community members interested in discussing this option are urged to come to the November 14th School Board / Preschool Planning Forum beginning at 6 o'clock at Dummerston School.
Thank you.
Sounds awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
You're good, multitasker.
Get it done.
Now that I think about it, one of the questions, one of the sort of surprises in the process as Guilford went through it was the degree to which there are all of these other requirements that go into
We
putting
had
that program
Janice
together.
Stockman came
Yeah,
and spoke to us last full meeting, maybe? Yes, and kind of went through the,
That was
Yeah.
a bit of a surprise for
Right.
them. It took them a whole lot longer than that.
That's why it's nice to copy somebody else's work, because then you get to know about the surprises ahead of time and save yourself some trouble. You know,
Then I think we should go, I want to go look at it.
Yeah.
I don't know, pros.
maybe we should.
Field
Yeah.
field?
Yeah. Both Oak Grove and
Yeah.
Guilford added one this year. Putney has had one for quite some time.
Guilford has been very welcoming, and any questions you have, Beth Bristol has been lovely, you know, and just talked about the process with me, which helped to inform my going forward with this. So they're a good partner to have, and that's one of the upsides of going through the Act 46 process is, you know, we have connections to other board members, and what a lovely bunch of people. School board members always want to help, so that's been an excellent help to us. There being no other business before the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourning, I can't see.
8:22.
8:22, not too bad, not too.
All in favor?
Aye, sorry. Aye.
I
Sorry, I was jumping the gun.